You are here right now, and that is not something random. Nothing about this moment has happened by accident. You did not simply come across this by pure chance. And if you decide to leave at this moment, you may never completely understand what this experience was trying to show you. There is something aligned about the timing of you being here, something quiet but purposeful, almost like life placed a message exactly where you were meant to discover it one day. And as this energy continues to unfold, there is a change in perspective. What first seems uncertain or accidental slowly starts to feel important, almost like a quiet sense of amazement, replacing the question of, why am I seeing this right now? The reason is that there is someone connected to your energy in a very powerful way. This person thinks about you much more often than you may realize, not in a casual or passing way, but in a deep and steady manner that reflects genuine emotional presence. You enter their thoughts throughout the day, and even during the quieter hours of the night, when everything around them becomes still. Their thoughts about you have many layers. Sometimes those thoughts are emotional. Sometimes they feel spiritual. Other times they become physical attraction. It does not exist in only one area of their feelings. What they experience is detailed and full because they are not only attracted to your appearance. Yes, they notice how you look, and they are drawn to it. But what truly keeps their attention goes much deeper. They are affected by your personality, your energy, and the way you carry yourself through life. There is something about your presence that stands out to them in a memorable way. The way you communicate, the way you handle situations, your natural kindness, your honesty, and the gentle quality in your energy all leave a lasting impression. They see you as someone sincere, someone who does not hide behind artificial layers, someone whose authenticity feels uncommon in their experience. In their eyes, you appear sweet, caring, and genuine. Not something created for attention, not something forced, but something naturally real. And that authenticity is exactly what causes their feelings to grow instead of disappear. It remains with them. There is also a feeling inside this connection that seems destined from their perspective. Something within them has believed from the beginning that meeting you was not simply a coincidence, but something that carried meaning. They may never openly say this, not because it is untrue, but because they tend to guard their inner world very carefully. This is someone who feels emotions intensely, but often struggles with finding safe ways to express them. When their feelings become too strong, they often pull part of themselves back, not because they do not care, but because past experiences have taught them that opening up too quickly can sometimes lead to disappointment or emotional imbalance. They have likely been through situations where their honesty or vulnerability was misunderstood, times when they revealed their true feelings early, only to discover that their openness was not respected or appreciated the way they had hoped. Those experiences shaped them. They made them more careful, more watchful, and sometimes more reserved when it comes to showing everything they feel. Instead of placing every emotion out in the open, they prefer to observe, reflect, and keep certain truths inside. They do not always reveal the full depth of what is happening within them, even when those emotions are very real and very active. This is where their internal struggle begins to appear. One side of them wants to move closer, express themselves, and be open about what they feel. Another side steps back and tries to maintain control, determined not to repeat emotional patterns from the past where they felt exposed or taken for granted. Because in earlier experiences, they may have met people who reacted differently once they realized how deeply invested they were. Instead of receiving the same care in return, they may have faced distance, manipulation, or emotional imbalance. Those experiences taught them to protect their feelings even when those feelings are powerful. So, when it comes to you, they are far from indifferent. Their interest is alive, active, and emotionally intense. But it is also filtered through caution. They are constantly balancing what they feel with what they feel comfortable expressing. Yet, despite all that hesitation, you continue to occupy their thoughts. You remain someone they return to mentally without even trying. There is something about you that never completely left their system, something that stayed behind and continued to grow in importance. For them, this is not a surface-level impression. It runs deeper than that. It exists in their awareness and quietly influences the way they view connection, timing, and emotional possibilities. And even if they never say it directly, there is a quiet understanding within them that you are not simply another person they happen to meet. You are someone who left a meaningful mark on them, someone who felt different in a way they still struggle to explain. Then, this inner experience begins creating real tension in how they interact with you. At some point in their past, this person learned a difficult lesson. When they gave too much too soon, when they opened their heart completely, when they expressed their emotions without restraint, things did not always unfold the way they expected. Instead of being met with equal care, that openness sometimes created imbalance. People pulled away. Some misunderstood them. Others may even have taken advantage of their honesty. As a result, what followed was a form of emotional backlash. Not visible chaos, but internal chaos. A feeling of being exposed too quickly, too deeply, and without enough protection. Once someone goes through that type of emotional instability, it leaves a lasting impression. It does not simply disappear. It becomes something they remember whenever they begin feeling close to someone again. That is why they do not immediately reveal everything they feel for you. It is not because the emotions are absent. In fact, the opposite is true. The emotions are present, but they are being carefully managed. They are filtered through caution, awareness, and a strong desire to protect themselves emotionally. Instead of expressing everything directly, they often try to appear calm and collected, not because they are disconnected, but because they are trying to stay balanced. They are trying not to repeat old patterns where they moved too quickly, became deeply invested, and later found themselves overwhelmed or disappointed. There is also a previous version of this person that was very different. That version attached quickly, communicated openly, showed consistency without hesitation, and freely matched the energy of others. But after experiencing emotional highs and lows over time, that openness began to feel dangerous. What once felt natural started to feel like something that required caution. It is almost as though their emotional life used to move like strong waves. There would be exciting highs of connection, followed by painful lows of disappointment. After experiencing enough of those cycles, they started teaching themselves to slow down, not because they stopped feeling deeply, but because they stopped trusting emotional speed. Now they associate rushing with instability. They prefer to move with more intention. They observe more carefully. They approach connection with greater control. They want to make sure they are not repeating the same emotional intensity that once left them feeling uncertain and unsteady. At times, this can make them seem distant, quiet, or difficult to read. But internally, what is really happening is self-regulation. They are trying to protect both their feelings and the possibility of a healthy connection from becoming chaotic or one-sided. Even with all this caution, something important is happening beneath the surface. They are not shutting you out completely. Instead, they are adapting. They are learning how to remain present without losing themselves in the process. As time continues moving forward, a shift begins taking shape in their behavior. Slowly, they start realizing that hiding everything is not the same thing as emotional safety. They begin understanding that there is a middle path between revealing too much and withdrawing completely. This realization becomes the beginning of change. The change may appear in small but noticeable ways. They become more willing to engage. They become more willing to reach out first instead of always waiting. They become more willing to create opportunities for connection instead of only imagining them. You may notice this through simple actions at first. A message arriving unexpectedly. A casual check-in that feels intentional beneath the surface. An invitation presented lightly, perhaps suggesting time together without making it feel emotionally heavy. It may not be dramatic. It may not happen all at once. It will likely develop gradually, but it will be genuine. Because beneath all the caution, the interest never disappears. If anything, it quietly grows stronger over time. As their trust in the situation increases, their actions begin aligning more naturally with their feelings. They start understanding that avoiding emotional expression entirely does not truly protect them. It simply postpones connection. So, instead of staying completely guarded, they slowly begin taking small and steady steps forward. They do not rush the process. They do not try to force everything to happen at once. At the same time, they stop keeping every feeling hidden inside. This is where things gradually begin moving toward greater openness, healthier balance, and a steadier rhythm between the two of you. As time passes, it becomes clearer that this person is not naturally passive or emotionally distant. Deep inside, they are someone who genuinely wants to take part, contribute, and create meaningful relationships. Their hesitation has never been a sign of a lack of interest. Instead, it comes from the lessons life has taught them through past experiences. As those old fears slowly lose their control, more of their real personality begins to show. The version of them that has remained quietly in the background starts stepping into the light. The part that wants to communicate becomes stronger, the part that wants to understand you on a deeper level, the part that wants to discover where this connection might eventually lead. Those qualities have always existed within them. They have simply been waiting until enough trust was built. As that trust continues growing, their confidence grows alongside it. They stop viewing vulnerability as something dangerous and begin recognizing it as an important part of creating a genuine connection. They slowly realize that every meaningful relationship requires a certain amount of emotional courage. Without that willingness to take emotional risks, true closeness rarely has the chance to develop. This understanding begins changing the way they approach you. Their communication starts feeling more relaxed and natural. Their actions become more dependable. Their presence becomes much easier for you to notice. Instead of hiding every thought and emotion, they slowly begin allowing more of themselves to be seen. Even though they may continue moving carefully, there is a clear difference between moving with care and refusing to move at all. This person is gradually learning that important difference. They are learning that caution and openness can exist together. They are learning that emotional safety does not always require emotional distance. Most of all, they are beginning to understand that some connections deserve an opportunity to grow instead of remaining trapped behind fear. Whether they fully recognize it yet or not, you have become one of the reasons this lesson matters so much to them. Every time they try convincing themselves to move on completely, something quietly brings their attention back. It may be a memory, an emotion, or a thought they simply cannot ignore. Something about your energy continues to stay present within their awareness. Not in a forced or obsessive way, but in a way that feels meaningful. That sense of importance keeps this connection alive inside their mind. It encourages them to reconsider possibilities they once tried very hard to ignore. It slowly guides them toward becoming more honest with themselves. As this process continues, the emotional walls they once built around themselves no longer seem as necessary as they once appeared. Little by little, they begin allowing themselves to imagine what life could look like if they stopped resisting their feelings and started trusting them instead. That journey has not ended yet. It is still unfolding naturally. But the movement is real. The personal growth is real. The willingness is becoming real. Although everything may not happen overnight, the direction becomes clearer with every passing day. Beneath every hesitation, every protective habit, and every careful decision, there remains one truth they cannot completely ignore. You truly matter to them. You left an impression on their heart. You continue to occupy an important place within their thoughts and emotions. No matter how carefully they try to organize or control those feelings, that truth continues finding its way back to the surface. They are the kind of person who eventually takes meaningful action. Once they feel emotionally secure and comfortable enough, they naturally begin moving things forward. Their energy is not centered around remaining frozen or pretending their emotions do not exist. Instead, It is connected to timing, patience, self-control, and choosing the right moment before taking the next step. Because of this, what eventually begins to appear is not endless silence or constant avoidance. What starts becoming visible is steady movement. You can expect them to show greater initiative in the way they connect with you. It no longer remains only inside private thoughts or unspoken emotions. Over time, those feelings begin transforming into genuine effort in everyday life. You may notice them reaching out in a more direct and honest way. The messages they send may stop being simple small talk and begin carrying real purpose and sincerity. They may suggest meeting face-to-face, ask if you are available on a particular day, or try arranging schedules so both of you can spend meaningful time together. It may sound like, "I will be in your area. Would you like to meet?" Or, "Are you free around this time? I would really like to take you somewhere." This reflects the energy of someone who is moving beyond simply thinking about a connection and is finally beginning to act on it. The deeper message surrounding this energy is cooperation. There is an increasing desire to build something together instead of simply watching from a distance. This is where shared effort becomes especially important. It is no longer about one person carrying all the emotional responsibility. Instead, it becomes about teamwork, mutual understanding, balance, and both people making meaningful contributions to the relationship. At the same time, it is important to remember that their natural pace is usually slower than many people expect. Even when they care deeply and their feelings are sincere, they do not always move quickly. Their process often includes reflection, adjustment, and making sure they feel emotionally stable before expressing themselves through action. Because of this, the connection may not grow in a rushed or dramatic way. Instead, it develops gradually, one meaningful step after another. Even so, the direction continues moving forward. From a spiritual point of view, some people believe this stage represents a period where inner alignment makes action feel easier. Practices like self-reflection, emotional healing, grounding exercises, journaling, or letting go of old emotional burdens can help someone feel lighter inside. When a person is no longer carrying so much emotional weight from the past, they naturally become more present, more engaged, and more willing to participate consistently in relationships and everyday life. There is an even deeper truth beneath all of this. When people carry unresolved emotional wounds, they naturally become more careful. This does not mean they do not care. It usually means they are trying to avoid repeating situations that previously brought pain, disappointment, emotional stress, or instability. As those experiences are understood and processed, their ability to connect openly often becomes much stronger. Even so, it remains important to stay realistic and emotionally grounded. Real and lasting change in someone's behavior does not come through rituals, shortcuts, or promises made by other people. It develops through time, self-awareness, emotional maturity, personal responsibility, and genuine life experiences. When people truly heal and grow, it usually happens because they make the choice to reflect, learn, and continue developing. What you can realistically expect from someone who is sincerely invested is not an instant transformation, but a gradual increase in consistency. Small efforts slowly begin building upon one another. Communication becomes more regular. Contact becomes more intentional. There is a greater willingness to meet, make plans, and actively participate instead of remaining emotionally distant. This is where their action-oriented nature becomes much more visible. They stop simply thinking about the connection and begin actively investing in it. They create room for it within their daily schedule. They become the one initiating plans instead of always waiting for someone else to take the first step. They begin showing up with greater intention, purpose, and emotional presence. As this continues, the overall dynamic slowly shifts from uncertainty into something much more stable, balanced, and dependable. Patience is still necessary because their personality is not naturally impulsive or rushed. However, The biggest difference lies in the direction they are moving. Instead of remaining emotionally stuck in one place, they gradually begin moving toward you in ways that become increasingly clear and noticeable. Over time, this becomes the defining quality of how they approach the connection. Action slowly replaces hesitation. Participation begins replacing silence. Consistent effort takes the place of avoidance. That is often the clearest indication that meaningful change is truly happening. Not simply words or promises, but repeated actions showing they are making a conscious decision to be involved. Their inner shadow becomes an important part of this personal transformation. What slowly begins to appear is a stronger sense of balance developing within the relationship. It is not dramatic or sudden. Instead, it feels like a quiet reorganization of emotional energy taking place beneath the surface. Something that once felt uneven, uncertain, or emotionally tense slowly begins softening into a steadier and healthier rhythm. There is a gradual movement away from resistance and toward a calmer form of emotional alignment, where the atmosphere between both people feels less chaotic and much more secure. Earlier in the connection, there may have been many contradictions. One moment there was closeness, and the next there was distance. One day there was excitement, and another day there was hesitation. This constant push and pull pattern can become emotionally exhausting. It creates uncertainty because the energy appears to move in completely opposite directions at the same time. As more time passes, however, something begins settling inside them. The emotional intensity may still exist, but it becomes more organized and balanced internally. Instead of reacting impulsively to every emotion, they begin developing the ability to pause, reflect, and understand what they are actually feeling. This is where genuine emotional clarity starts taking shape. As that clarity continues growing, much of the inner confusion slowly begins fading away. They no longer feel the same need to question every emotion or analyze every possibility. Instead of allowing fear to make every decision, they begin listening more closely to what their heart has been trying to tell them all along. That shift creates a quieter mind and a more peaceful emotional state. With less inner conflict, they become more capable of expressing themselves honestly and moving toward what truly matters to them. As this emotional stability grows, their confidence also becomes stronger. They begin trusting not only the connection, but also their own ability to handle whatever comes next. Rather than expecting disappointment before anything has even happened, they slowly become more open to the possibility that this relationship could become something healthy, supportive, and lasting. That change in perspective makes a significant difference in how they interact with you and how they choose to move forward.